They sat me next to the gift table, not at the family table where my sister Melissa was holding court in her designer dress, not at the friends' table where everyone was laughing and clinking champagne glasses, at the gift table, like I was hired to help or I was there to work, not to celebrate. My mother, Susan, didn't even look at me when she pointed to the folding chair wedged between the wall and the presents. "You'll sit here, Brooke," she said, already turning away. "Someone needs to look at the gifts. You know how people are." I stood there holding my purse, wearing the dress I'd spent 2 weeks' salary on, and I felt something crack inside my chest like ice on a frozen lake when you step too close to the edge. Before I tell you exactly what I did to make them regret that night, drop a comment below and let me know if you've ever been treated like you were invisible in your own family. Because what happened next changed everything in my family. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the notification bell. Because this channel is all about people who were underestimated, disrespected, and dismissed until they weren't. Now I would like you to do me a favor, grab a cup of coffee as we ride together into this story. I need you to understand something about my family. I'm not the golden child. I never have been. That title belongs to Melissa. She's 3 years younger than me, and from the day she was born, she's been the sun that everything in our family orbits around. Melissa is beautiful. I don't mean regular pretty. I mean the kind of beauty where strangers stop her in grocery stores to tell her she should be a model. She has this long blonde hair that actually shines like it's in a shampoo commercial. Her teeth are perfect and her skin is perfect. Even her laugh sounds like wind chimes. Me, I'm what people call nice looking. That's code for not ugly, but nothing special. I have brown hair that frizzes in humidity. I'm 20 pounds heavier than I want to be. My smile is crooked because we couldn't afford braces for both of us, and Melissa's pageant career was more important. I'm 32 years old. Melissa is 29, and for 32 years, I have been the supporting character in the story of her life. When we were kids, I was the one who helped her practice her pageant walks. I held the cue cards while she memorized her interview answers. I stood backstage at competitions holding her makeup bag like an assistant, watching her wave at crowds while wearing a tiara. My parents never asked if I wanted to do pageants. They just assumed I wasn't pageant material. And maybe I wasn't, but it would have been nice to be asked. In high school, Melissa was homecoming queen. I was in the library studying for AP exams. She went to prom with the quarterback. I went with my friend's brother who spent the whole night talking about his gaming computer. College was the same. Melissa went to a fancy private university on a scholarship for campus. Basically meant she was pretty enough to be in the brochures. I went to community college and worked nights at a diner to pay my tuition. My parents helped Melissa with her rent. They bought her a car when she graduated and paid for her trip to Europe the summer after her senior year. When I graduated, they sent me a card. I'm not saying this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm saying this so you understand that the gift table wasn't a surprise. It was just the latest chapter in a very long book. The engagement party was at my parents' house. They have this big backyard with a deck and string lights and enough space for 80 people. My mother had been planning it for 3 months. She hired a catering company. She rented fancy chairs and she ordered a custom cake with Melissa and her fiancé's names in gold frosting. His name is Austin. He works in finance. He's handsome in that generic way where he could be in a stock photo labeled successful businessman. He proposed to Melissa on a beach in the Bahamas. The photos went viral on Instagram. I found out about the engagement from Facebook. I didn't get a phone call or a text. I saw the post at midnight while I was lying in bed after a 12-hour shift at the marketing firm where I work. Melissa's post had 3,000 likes in the first hour. My mother called me the next morning, not to ask if I'd seen the news or to apologize for not telling me first. She called to tell me the date of the engagement party and to ask if I could help out. Help out how? I asked. You know, just be available if we need extra hands. Your sister is so busy with wedding planning. She doesn't have time to deal with the little details. The little details. I showed up to the party 2 hours early because my mother told me to. She handed me a stack of table assignments and told me to put them at each seat. Then she handed me a box of party favors and told me to put one on every plate. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt because I thought I was there to help set up. When I finished, I went home to change. When I came back an hour later, wearing my new dress and heels, the party had already started. Guests were arriving. Melissa was at the entrance with Austin, greeting everyone like she was a celebrity at a red carpet event. I walked up to her. Hey, congratulations, She hugged me. It was one of those quick, stiff hugs where you don't actually touch bodies. Oh my God, Brooke. Thanks, I'm so glad you could make it. Make it like I was a guest who might or might not show up. Where should I sit? I asked. She frowned. Oh, I don't know, ask Mom, she did the seating chart. I found my mother in the kitchen directing the catering staff. Mom, where am I sitting? She didn't stop moving. I put you next to the gift table, sweetie. Someone needs to keep an eye on things, you don't mind, do you? It wasn't a question, it was an instruction. I walked to the gift table. It was shoved in the corner, next to the fence. There was one folding chair. One. Every other seat in the yard was a rented white chair with a cushion. Mine was a metal folding chair that my dad probably pulled out of the garage. I sat down. From where I was sitting, I could see the whole party, but I was far enough away that I wasn't really part of it. I watched my parents circulate, introducing Melissa and Austin to their friends. I watched Melissa's bridesmaids take selfies by the flower wall. I watched the caterers bring out trays of shrimp and bruschetta. No one brought me any food. At one point, my aunt came over to drop off a gift. She looked at me, confused. Brooke, what are you doing over here? Watching the gifts, I said, smiling like it was totally normal. She frowned. That's odd. Shouldn't you be sitting with your family? I didn't answer. She didn't push. She just walked away. Around 7 o'clock, my mother came over with a glass of wine in her hand. She was laughing at something someone had said. She looked happy and glowing. How are you doing over here? She asked. Fine, I said. Good. She glanced at the gift table. Make sure you keep track of who gave what. Melissa needs to send thank you cards. Then she walked away. That's when I felt it. That crack in my chest spread. It traveled up into my throat. I couldn't swallow and I couldn't breathe. I stood up and walked to the side of the house where no one could see me. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. I was done. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew I was done being the person they stuck in the corner, done being the afterthought, done being the help. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app and stared at my savings account balance, $43,000. I'd been saving for 5 years. It was supposed to be for a down payment on a house. I'd been living in a tiny apartment, skipping vacations, buying clothes at thrift stores, eating leftovers for lunch, all so I could save. But looking at that number, I realized something. What was I saving for? A life that my family would still treat as less important than Melissa's. I had worked 2 jobs through college. I had paid off my student loans by myself. I had built a career at a company where I'd been promoted 3 times. I owned my car outright. I had good credit and I had a 401k. And I was sitting alone next to a gift table at my sister's engagement party. No, I put my phone away. I walked back to my chair. I sat down and I smiled, because I'd just realized something that my parents didn't know. I was the only person in this family who didn't need them. The party ended around 10. Guests started leaving. Melissa and Austin stood by the door, hugging everyone goodbye. My parents stood next to them, basking in the attention. I stayed at the gift table. When the last guest left, my mother walked over. She looked exhausted but satisfied. Can you help bring the gifts inside? She asked. Not thank you for sitting here all night. Not I'm sorry you didn't get to enjoy the party. Just another task. Sure, I said. I picked up 3 boxes and carried them into the house. My father was in the living room, loosening his tie. Where should these go? I asked. Just put them in the dining room, he said without looking up from his phone. Melissa will go through them tomorrow. I made 4 trips. No one helped me. Melissa and Austin had disappeared upstairs. My mother was in the kitchen with the caterers, settling the bill. When I brought in the last box, my mother came out of the kitchen. Oh, good, you got them all. Thanks, honey. I stood there, holding my purse still in my dress. I'm going to head out, I said. Okay, drive safe. She was already walking away. I stood there in the hallway of the house I grew up in, surrounded by gifts for my sister, and I felt like a ghost. Like I could disappear and no one would notice for days. I walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat. I didn't start the engine. I just sat there, staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Can you come back tomorrow to help write thank you cards? Melissa has a dress fitting. I stared at the text. I didn't respond. I drove home. I didn't cry or scream. I just felt numb. When I got to my apartment, I made a cup of tea. I sat on my couch. I opened my laptop. I started Googling. How to plan a wedding. Average cost of a wedding. Who traditionally pays for the wedding. 3 hours later, I closed my laptop. I'd learned everything I needed to know. My parents were planning to pay for Melissa's wedding. My mother had mentioned it at Easter dinner. been saving for this since she was born," she'd said, smiling at Melissa. I'd never asked how much they'd saved. I just assumed it was a lot, but now I was curious. The next morning, I called my mother. "Hey, Mom, do you have a minute?" "Sure, sweetie, what's up?" "I was thinking I'd really like to contribute to Melissa's wedding." There was a pause. "Oh, Brooke, that's so sweet, but you don't have to do that." "I want to," I said. "Melissa is my only sister. I want to help make her day special." My mother's voice softened. "That's really generous, honey. Let me talk to your father and Melissa and we'll figure out where you can help." "Great. How much are you guys planning to spend?" Another pause. "Well, we haven't finalized the budget yet, but probably around $30,000. $30,000. "Wow," I said. "That's amazing. You guys are so generous. We just want Melissa to have the wedding of her dreams." "Of course. Well, let me know how I can help." We hung up. I sat on my couch staring at the wall. $30,000. I'd never gotten $30,000 from them. I'd never gotten $3,000 from them. When I needed money for textbooks, they told me to get a job. When I needed help with rent during an unpaid internship, they told me to ask my roommate to cover me. When my car broke down and I needed $1,000 for repairs, they told me they were stretched thin. But Melissa was getting $30,000 for one day. I wasn't jealous. I was just done. I spent the next week doing research. I made spreadsheets. I called vendors. I learned everything about wedding planning, the costs, the deposits, the contracts, and the timelines. And then I made a plan. Melissa's wedding was 8 months away. My mother had already started booking vendors. She'd put deposits down on the venue, the photographer, and the florist. I called her a week after the engagement party. "Hey, Mom, I've been thinking about my offer to help with the wedding." "Oh, that's sweet, honey. What did you have in mind?" "I was thinking I could cover the rehearsal dinner. I know that's traditionally the groom's family's responsibility, but I'd really like to do it." My mother gasped. "Brooke, that's so generous. Are you sure?" "Absolutely. I've been saving and I want to do this for Melissa. Let me talk to Melissa. I'm sure she'll be thrilled." That night, Melissa called me. "Brooke, oh my God, Mom told me about the rehearsal dinner. Are you serious?" "Totally serious." "That's like $5,000. Are you sure you can afford that?" $5,000. That was what the rehearsal dinner cost. Good to know. "I can afford it," I said. "I've been saving for something important and this is important." She squealed. "Thank you. This is going to be amazing." We talked for 20 minutes about her vision for the rehearsal dinner. She wanted it at a fancy restaurant downtown. She wanted a private room. She wanted a 4-course meal and a signature cocktail named after her in Austin. I took notes. When we hung up, I smiled. Phase 1, complete. Over the next 2 months, I became the most involved, helpful, generous sister in the world. I went to Melissa's dress fittings. I helped her pick bridesmaid dresses. I drove her to cake tastings. I addressed save-the-date envelopes and I assembled wedding favors. My parents were thrilled. "It's so nice to see you two bonding," my mother said. Melissa started calling me her wedding planning buddy. And every time I helped, every time I showed up, every time I smiled and said, "Whatever you want, it's your day," I was gathering information. I learned that my parents had given Melissa access to a joint checking account with $30,000 in it. I learned that Melissa was bad with money and had already overspent on her dress by $2,000. I learned that my mother was secretly stressed about the budget, but didn't want to tell Melissa no. I learned that the final payment for the venue was due 2 weeks before the wedding, $22,000. And I learned that my parents were planning to transfer that money from their savings account to the joint account 2 weeks before the due date. Perfect. 3 months before the wedding, I took Melissa out for lunch. "I have a surprise for you," I said, her eyes lit up. "What?" "I want to upgrade the rehearsal dinner, I want to add a live band and a photo booth, and I also want to cover the bar tab for the whole night." She grabbed my hand. "Brooke, are you serious? That's like another $3,000. "I know, but you only get married once." She hugged me. "You're the best sister ever." I smiled. Phase 2 complete. The week before the wedding, I called my mother. "Hey, Mom. I know you're busy, but I wanted to talk to you about something." "Sure, honey, what's up?" "I've been thinking, I know you and Dad have done so much for Melissa, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done for both of us over the years." Her voice softened. "Oh, Brooke, that's so sweet. I mean it. You've always put family first, and I know that planning this wedding has been stressful, so I want to do something for you." "What do you mean?" "I want to take you and Dad out to dinner the night before the wedding, just the 3 of us, a quiet dinner to say thank you." She was quiet for a moment, then I heard her voice crack. Brooke, that's really thoughtful. Your father and I would love that. Great, I'll make a reservation. We hung up. I sat on my couch staring at my laptop. Phase 3 in motion. The wedding was on a Saturday in June. The rehearsal dinner was on Friday night. My dinner with my parents was Thursday. I made a reservation at the most expensive restaurant in the city. The kind of place where the menu doesn't have prices and the waiter recommends wine pairings. My parents arrived on time. My mother was glowing. My father looked relaxed for the first time in months. We ordered appetizers and entrees. We ordered wine. We talked about the wedding, about Melissa, about how beautiful everything was going to be. Halfway through dinner, I brought it up. So the final venue payment is next week, right? My mother nodded. Yes, Monday morning, we're transferring the money from savings this weekend. 22,000. Yep, it's a lot, but it's worth it. I took a sip of wine. That's amazing. I'm so glad you guys saved for this. My father smiled. We've been saving since Melissa was born. This is what we always wanted to do for her. Since Melissa was born, I smiled. That's beautiful. The check came. It was $470. I handed the waiter my credit card without blinking. Brooke, you don't have to, my mother started. I want to, I said. This is my gift to you. We hugged in the parking lot. My mother had tears in her eyes. Thank you, honey. This was such a special night. I'm glad, I said. I drove home. I didn't feel guilty. I felt calm. Friday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. I opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account. I transferred $8,000 to a separate account I'd opened just for this. Then I confirmed the reservation for the rehearsal dinner, the band, the photo booth, and the bar tab. Total cost, $8,000. That night, the rehearsal dinner was perfect. Melissa cried. Austin gave a speech. My parents toasted to the happy couple. I smiled the whole time. Saturday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I didn't read the texts. I got dressed. I drove to the venue. When I arrived, the parking lot was full, but there was no music. No guests arrived, just chaos. I found my mother standing near the entrance, her phone pressed to her ear. Her face was red. She was crying. When she saw me, she ran over. Brooke, thank God, we need your help. What's wrong? The venue, the payment didn't go through. We transferred the money, but the bank flagged it. They said it looks like fraud. They froze the account and we can't access the money. The venue is threatening to cancel the wedding if we don't pay in the next hour. I blinked. What? That's terrible. Do you have any money you can lend us? Anything. We'll pay you back next week, I swear. I hesitated. How much do you need? 22,000. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app. I showed her my balance, $1,500. Her face fell. I spent everything on the rehearsal dinner, I said quietly. I'm sorry. She stared at me. The rehearsal dinner was $8,000. With the band and the photo booth and the bar, yeah. Her mouth opened, then closed, then it opened again. You spent $8,000. You said it was important. You said Melissa only gets married once. My father appeared behind her. His face was purple. This is your fault, he shouted. If you hadn't blown all that money on a party, we'd have a buffer. I didn't yell back. I just looked at him. You told me to help, I said. I helped. My mother's phone rang. She answered it, her hand shaking. Yes, I understand. Can you give us 30 more minutes, please? She hung up. They're giving us 30 minutes to pay or they're canceling. Melissa appeared, still in her regular clothes. Her face was blotchy from crying. Is it fixed? She asked. My mother shook her head. Melissa looked at me. Brooke, can't you help? I don't have it, I said. What about a credit card or a loan or... I don't have it, I repeated. She stared at me. You're my sister. I know. And you're just going to stand there. I didn't answer. Austin came out of the venue. He looked stressed. My parents wired money. It'll clear in 3 hours, but the venue won't wait. My father ran his hands through his hair. We'll figure it out. We have to. I watched them scramble. I watched them make phone calls. I watched Melissa sob. I watched my mother try to negotiate with the venue manager. And then I left. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked to my car, got in, and drove away. 3 hours later, I got a text from Melissa. Austin's parents paid. The wedding is back on, but you're not welcome anymore. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, I got an email from my mother. I don't know what happened to you, but you are not the daughter I raised. You ruined your sister's wedding day. She will never forgive you. Your father and I won't either. I deleted it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. It's not about making them hurt. It's about making them see. My parents spent $30,000 on Melissa because they saw her as worth it. They spent nothing on me because they didn't. I didn't ruin Melissa's wedding. I just stopped being free labor. I stopped being the person who gave and never asked for anything back. And when they needed me, I wasn't there. Not because I'm cruel, but because I finally realized that I don't owe them anything. They still don't see it. They think I'm the villain. They think I sabotaged the wedding out of jealousy. But I didn't sabotage anything. I just did exactly what they taught me to do. I spent my money on what I thought was important. And to me, an $8,000 rehearsal dinner for a sister who forgot I existed was exactly as important as it deserved to be. I spent every cent making sure they had one last perfect night. One last memory of me being the helpful, generous, invisible sister. And then I made sure they understood what it costs when I'm not there. The wedding happened. Melissa got married. The photos are beautiful. I wasn't in any of them, and I'm fine with that. If you've ever been the person in your family who gives everything and gets nothing back, I want you to know something. You don't owe them forever. You don't have to keep showing up just because they expect you to. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic, it's just stopping. Drop a comment and let me know your story. And if you liked this one, subscribe to the channel. There are a lot more where this came from. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.